You're just going to need your crochet hook of choice. Whatever hook size is recommended for your project based upon your yarn, just use that hook. You're going to need a pair of scissors, and of course you're going to need a darning needle. So these are the tools that you're going to need. And then of course you just need your yarns of choice. I'm using 24/7 cotton, but whatever yarn you want to use is fine. You can see we have all of the same, well, I'll use this one. We have all of the same looks. It's just half, literally half. So we're going to start out the exact same way. I like to start my projects with a magic loop. I love the magic loop. It's a way to make sure that that hole gets cinched in nice and tight in the end. You're going to take these two fingers, okay, and face the palms towards you. You're going to lay your yarn on top of those fingers. Waist yarn is coming down. Now from here, I go ahead and I'm going to place my finger right here to just kind of secure that. And I'm going to grab the working yarn and I'm going to wrap it around my finger. And before I come over, I'm going to cross it over the other yarn, making an X. When you have this and you see the X right here with your waist yarn coming down, okay, now put your hand, your thumb on top of that X and turn your hand. Now from this point, what I like to do is I like to put up another finger and I'm going to take the working yarn and I'm going to place it over here. So what you have is like a uneven equal sign, right? And I'm just securing this working yarn between my ring and my pinky finger. And that is just to secure it and also to differentiate between these two, okay? So they don't get confused. So you want to make sure that these are spread apart because what we're about to do, you want to be able to see clearly. Take your hook and go underneath this first stitch, okay? Underneath the first one, okay? And then you're going to grab the second, pull through, okay? Once you get it through, just go ahead and kind of twist the yarn to lock it in place. And then you're just moving the yarn. So all I'm doing once I got that hook loop through is I'm just twisting the yarn, twisting my hand rather, so that it's more comfortable, in a more comfortable working position. That's it. You're just pulling it through and then twisting up your yarn so that you can grab the next part. So the next part you're going to grab is this up here where you're holding your ring finger. You're going to grab the yarn up there, okay? And with this, you're going to grab it and you're going to pull it through. So from here, you're going to pull tight. You have just made your magic loop. So you're going to grab your working yarn and that's going to pull it to tighten it. And now we are ready to begin. Once you have your magic loop, from here, we're going to do our stacked single again. So do a single crochet into the loop and then come into the second bar. So 1, 2, we're going to go into the second bar right here, yarn over and create another single crochet on top of there. The difference between the triangle and the square that we just did is that the triangle kind of breaks the granny square rule. So for the triangle, we are actually going to start out by making 4 double crochets into our first cluster. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the reason why we're doing 4 is because this one is going to act as our corner for the end. So from here you have 4. We're just going to chain 2. And this loop has gotten a little big for me. Okay. And then we're going to do 4 more double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So you have 4 on this side followed by a chain 2 and 4 on this side. From here you can go ahead and tighten. Not too tight, but once you tighten, you can kind of see this triangle form. So at this point here, I'm gonna actually change colors. So I'm going to clip, and then I'm going to add my next color here. So the next color I'm going to do is going to be chocolate brown. So I'm just going to put my yarn on the hook. From here I put my yarn on the hook and then I just pull through. I'm going to tighten this one. And then from here I'm going to chain 1. Make sure it's nice and tight. So from here I'm going to turn my work. And instead of working in the stitch, I'm going to work in down here in this whole bar area. I'm just going to make this area down here, not up here, but down here where I'm going to put my first cluster. So I'm going to start out with my stacked single. So I'm just going to put my yarn into that space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, go in the second bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And so just like when we began, the sides are always going to have 4 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and then I'm not going to do any chains between this one because this is going to be our side. So we're going to go straight into this top one, which is the corner, and we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets into the same chain space. So it's 3, chain 2, and then 3 more. Okay, just like that. Now, again, no chain, and we're going to go in between the first and the third and the fourth stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, and here's the 4th on the end. And just like before, we're not going to go into the actual stitch. We're going to go in between the bars here, and we're going to put 4 double crochets into that space. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like that. So from here, we're going to just continue to add like we did for the first one. So I am going to cut my yarn here. You do not have to cut your yarn if you're keeping the color the same. And I am going to attach my next color, which is going to be this white. And I'm going to attach it the same way. I'm just going to pull my yarn through and then chain 1, and then I'll pull this to tighten it. Now from here, we turn our work, and again, we're going to work into the bar of this between the first and second stitch, not in the actual stitch itself, but between the bars. So I'm going to do a stacked single, just like we did before. And that counts as our first stitch. And then I'm going to add 3 more giving a total of 4 clusters into this first chain space. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to do no chains, and I'm just going to go straight into the next space and put 3 double crochets. And then we have reached the top corner. So the top corner is going to have 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Okay, and then from here, no skipping, no chaining. We're just going to go straight into the 3 double crochets here along the side. And then between the 3rd and 4th bar, so 1, 2, 3, and then here's the 4th one on the end. We're going to put 4 double crochets into that space. No chaining between, just go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like that. And I'm going to do one more color change. So again, when we get to this point, I'm just going to slip that on there and then chain 1, tighten, and turn my work. From here, between the 1st and 2nd stitches, we're going to put a stack single to start, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets, creating a total of 4 clusters or 4 stitches in this group. Okay. No chaining. We're going to just go straight into the next group with a double crochet, and we're going to add 3 in this space, 3 in the next space, okay, and then go straight into your corner with 3 double crochets, followed by a chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets. Okay, and then 3 in the next. And 3 in the next. And finally, between the 3rd and 4th chain, we're going into the bar, not the stitch, and we're going to put 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is the end. We can chain 1, pull to tighten, cut it, and that ends this triangle. And again, I will kind of go through a couple of these just to show you how I personally go about ending my granny triangles, just because I feel like no one ever does this. So what I like to do is, because we've been flipping back and forth, you will see that this one is, the back stitch, but it's the front stitch of this one, the back stitch of this one, the front stitch of this one, and the reverse on the other side. I typically like to use whatever the stitch is that borders as my front, but it is up to you, whichever way you choose to see it. It just, whatever the last one is, seems to visually be the most prominent. So I choose to use this as my front. So yeah. So how I like to end these is the magic circle. I'm not going to show you that one because I do that the same way as the regular square. That one is really no different. I do tend to make it a bit looser, just because when depending on what I'm doing, if I'm coming across this edge and closing it in, it's a little bit easier to get my hook into this if it's not as tight. So that's just something to keep in mind. But to weave in my ends, what I like to do is, let's do, well, let me weave in the center, and then I will come back and show you how I do the others, because there's just way too many yarns in the way right now. All right, so we are back, and I have woven in quite a few of the ends. So we are just left with this tail end right here and this end. And again, if you want to see how I close up the magic loop area, just check out the last bit of the square that I just showed. But we are going to close off these ends to the triangle. So all the other ends are going to be the same way as I'm going to do this one. I just want to get some of that extra string out the way. So what I like to do is I like take the ends that are, the section that are together, right? Like I switched from this color to the brown. So what I like to do is I like to start out making sure that I'm facing what I'm going to use as the back of my work. And I'm just going to tie a nice tight knot. So I go there and then go around again, just your standard knot, nothing special. Like that. And then from here, I'm going to grab my needle, thread it, and I'm going to go under these stitches all the way over to the other side and just pull through. Okay. And as you can see, I've already kind of pulled that knot really, really close to this stitches. So when you look at it from this side, you can't really see it anymore. So from here, I'm going to put my hook onto the other side, or the other yarn. Okay. And now I'm going to go through these stitches again. But when I get over to this side, I'm not just going to come underneath these stitches like that. I'm going to split that end yarn there. So I'm just going to literally go in the middle of the yarn instead of on the outside of the yarn. So it's kind of hard to see with this dark brown, but it's coming in between the yarns, so it's not apart. Yeah, so I hope you can understand what I'm saying. I've talked about splitting the yarn a few times, even though this is the chocolate brown. It's kind of hard to see. But anyways, so that is what I'm doing. I'm splitting this bottom yarn to add as sort of like my anchor, like I did for the squares. It's coming out from in between the yarn instead of underneath the yarn. So one is coming underneath, one is coming between a yarn, and that is going to be my anchor. So from here, I'm going to tie another knot to secure on this side. Pull tight, but not so tight that you jumble this yarn here, these stitches together, but nice and tight like that. And then one more time, I grab just one, it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to put it back onto my darning needle. I'm going to go underneath all of these yarns and come through the back over here and pull through. And now that knot I just made, so you can see that knot right there, when I pull, it's going to kind of pop inside like that. And so I've got a knot on this side and a knot on that side. It is super secure. It's not coming out. And now I'm just going to clip. And I have just gotten rid of those ends. And so I do that at every side, at every junction where the color change is. And so we are just left with this last little piece here. So from here, again, I'm going to get my darning needle and I'm going to come underneath. And I'm just going to randomly weave in. And again, you want to make sure that you are not on the front, you are on the back of your work. And that's just going to be determined by, you know, really what you feel like it. But I use the front of the last stitch I did. That becomes my front. So, and I'm just going to weave it down into the area where the cluster is grouped together down here. And once I get my yarn down in there, I'm going to pull tight. And now I am just going to kind of go through, splitting as many stitches through this area as I can. I'm going to go up. Again, I'm splitting stitches and I don't want to make it too bulky. So I'm going to come up and just kind of weave it in around this area. So I've gone like up into here a little bit and coming across. Okay, and then when I get to this point, and I've done that like 2 or 3 times, not too many, because again, you do not want to overload your stitch. I'm going to come in and just grab a little piece of yarn and create a little knot. So what I did was I just put it through, and before I pull it tight, that creates a little loop. It goes into that loop and pull tight. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath all these stitches again, splitting as many stitches as I can along the way and push it through. And then take that knot with me and kind of move these stitches over top to cover. And now that I have it nice and secure, clip, and you have a finished granny triangle, and it looks lovely. All right, everyone, so that is the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know that you like tutorials and things of this nature and that you would like to see more simple, basic tutorials on this channel. Let me know if there's anything that you would like to see me do, any stitches that you think you would like to see me do. Just let me know down below in the comments and I will do that. Let me know what you're working on. What are you going to use your granny squares for? There's so many beautiful projects and I can't wait to use these in my next project. It's going to be so much fun. But anyways, that is it for this video. And so like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, stay blessed.